Hello, Leo friends. This is Dr. Shiny with a tarot reading for the month of March for Leos. If you haven't already done so, please check out my introductory videos, which will explain a little bit about how I read the tarot cards and what you can expect to get out of these readings and that kind of thing. I want to get right into it today. For your current situation, I have the Five of Coins. And the Five of Coins suggests that you're feeling perhaps a little bit lonely, isolated. Perhaps there's some anxiety there. And it's a strong indication that whatever these sort of negative thoughts or afflictions are that you're going through, they are somewhat internalized or the result of your own way of thinking or your own actions. For example, like sometimes poverty can be the result of being like too greedy, or sometimes like your anxiety can come from worrying about things too much, or that kind of thing. Um, it's also got a positive connotation in it that there is sort of like help. There's sanctuary all around you. It's just about sort of getting out of the headspace where you're feeling really headstrong, which I know is difficult for Leos, but getting out of the headspace where you feel like you have to do it all on your own, like you're totally independent. And the funny thing about it is getting out of that feeling that you have to do it alone. Often, if you just are willing to reach out and ask somebody, it's funny when you make the decision to do that, then all of a sudden the door opens up to where you don't even have to sometimes. So there's that, but you also do have to learn how to ask for help at some point in your life. We can't all do it all by ourselves, so there's that. But what's influencing you or what's crossing you is the Ten of Swords, which is sort of a similar idea. This is very similar to the Death card. This is uh, representing a sort of like end of cycles or completion of cycles. What this also says is that like you're feeling kind of down or depressed or anxious or something, probably because of people having sort of scarred you from the past. So in other words, you have this sort of like victim mentality, which it looks like you're sort of near the end of. You're almost through this, but the struggle has been this sort of victim mentality where you feel just a little jaded or scarred by something that's happened to you in your past, and it may be straightforward or it may not be. It may be something that happened when you were very young and like a memory that you've suppressed or something like that. But for whatever reason, you are taking it a little harder than you have to, and you're sort of imposing this dark cloud upon yourself. What I see in the past, and this is what leads me to believe that the situation is probably already over. It's just that you're having trouble moving on. The Nine of Wands here suggests sort of like a being really, really close to achievement or completion, but then having like unexpected setbacks right at the last minute. But this is in the past, so you've actually gotten through that time period, and maybe it's been one of those things where you feel like every time you get close to your dreams, something knocks you back and all that. But you've changed since that was a pattern in your life, and now you have an opportunity for like lasting happiness and success. It's just going to be about leaving this guy in the past, leaving that aggressive, untrusting attitude, in the past, because what you have right now, I think, is a great opportunity. And it may be with a person in a relationship, or it could just be your career and life situation or that kind of thing. But you're in a good place right now if you can learn to see it that way, you know. What I see for your future, what if you can get over this sort of self-imposed funk that is the result of just your mentality. You have some happy times ahead of you. You have a sense of really good friendship, companionship. that kind of thing. So this can mean in your personal relationship as well. It can be somebody who's not just filling like the romantic role, but also you can confide in, you can really be a close friend to as well. But the only thing that would be blocking this is if you are unwilling to trust the person, because sort of the other half of unconditional love is trust. So you have to learn how to trust unconditionally to be able to love unconditionally. Um, but you know, that's I feel like that's the struggle for all of us. So don't feel bad about it or anything like that. It's just part of life, and you're just growing. You know, the foundation of the situation is the page of coins, and the page of coins is sort of like a dreamer, a visionary. You know, you have this. Um, Especially as a Leo, you have this desire to claim your birthright a little bit, to assert yourself. You know, and it's not even out of necessarily selfishness, as it is just you know that you can run things. You've proven yourself. You've put in really hard work, and you have these visions for the future that are really beautiful. And if people got behind them, they would be really happy. You know, you're a natural born leader, and so it's just at this point, again, the foundation of the situation is just to get that initial spark going, to rekindle your sort of fiery will, to get things going. You know, what's on your mind is the Eight of Wands, or this is the crowning thoughts, and so this is a so the eight in numerology is really involved with like structure, and wands are sort of like energy and creative willpower and passion and that sort of thing. So the Eight of Wands is like it's like channeling a lot of raw energy. And so it can indicate that like in your life right now, things are really fast. There's a lot of energy buzzing around. Things are happening very quickly, that type of thing, and your dreams are sort of like falling into place. And there can be a sense of being overwhelmed by this. Like you go so long, like spinning your wheels and having no real good traction, that when things start working and when things start moving, sometimes one of the biggest obstacles to that can be sort of, it really comes from a sense of guilt that you know, you're conditioned to believe that you don't deserve things, or you don't deserve a partner that's as good as the one that you have, and that kind of thing. And so you can sort of self-sabotage it sometimes. So try not to think about the situations that you're worried about quite so much. Um, I feel like there's a lot of self-fulfilling prophecy in, in worry and things like that. So you're in a good spot, you know. Well, let's continue on with your advice for the current situation. I have the Judgment card, and the Judgment card is, again, sort of like completion of cycles. So this is really saying that like what's done is done, the past is in the past, and now it's time for you to enter a period of sort of self-reflection, and think about why you feel somewhat victimized, or think about why you feel like someone did you wrong, or those kind of things. It's a really good time for you to confront those issues and to work them out before they continue to sort of like poison your mindset or your vision a little bit. So self-reflection, seeking out a tarot card reading is a good start, definitely. But self-reflection is really important for you right now. And it's sort of like when you do your self-assessment, you think about the things that you've done in the past, and when you bring your attention to them, you have a way of working them out, of sort of releasing them and not carrying that guilt around with you anymore. And that frees up a tremendous amount of mental energy. And if you free up enough energy, I mean, I recognize that things are already looking a little chaotic and everything, but if you free up more energy, then it won't look quite like things are blowing by you so fast, because you'll actually be on that plane and using your energy effectively to get things done around you. And you'll really impress people too with that, because you'll have this focus. It'll be like you have like 8 arms, like everything is just you're managing to get it all done when nobody else, everybody else is just running around in circles like chickens with their heads cut off. Now, your environment card is a little interesting this time. I've got the Seven of Swords for your environment card. And the Seven of Swords normally indicates like a betrayal, or a sort of a need to get away unnoticed. Um, Now, in the context of a tarot reading like this, to have that in your environment card, I'm not going to say that it means that somebody is betraying you or backstabbing you or something like that. The Ten of Swords, which is what's crossing you, does sometimes indicate that you've been backstabbed. And because it's influencing you or crossing you, I can say that you have been backstabbed or hurt in the past. But now the fact that this is in your environment card, to me, more suggests that you're seeing the threat of being backstabbed around you. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's there. It could be just sort of like some irrational fears or something like that. Be careful with that, because this being in your environment card, it's a really tricky situation, because if you have reason to believe that somebody is uh, cheating on you, or trying to get one over on you behind your back, and you have this in your past, it's going to be very difficult for you to navigate the healthy amount of suspicion, the healthy amount of, keeping your head out of the sand. So it's a particular challenge for you, my Leo friends. And, let's go to the next card and see if that gives us any more advice here. The fears card for you is the High Priestess. And so the High Priestess is normally involved with like intuition, the divine feminine as well. So this could mean a couple things. So first of all, this could be that, because of your scars from the past and that kind of thing, your intuition might not be serving you very well. So you fear following it, you fear listening to it, because it's giving you sort of indications that you don't want to hear, that you don't like. And now keep in mind that just because you don't like those indications, it doesn't necessarily mean that like listening to those indications makes them true. Sometimes they're there for a reason, but it's not necessarily like what you think at first. You know what I mean? So sometimes if you, so for example, if you are being a little paranoid that somebody is trying to get you, or trying to get away with something, um, sort of approaching the situation and sort of making it obvious that you have your eye on the person can sometimes clue them in to something going on in your head. And that may just be that because of who you are as a person, they need to put a little bit more effort into quieting your mind, into making sure that you're comfortable with where they are. And that's okay. It's perfectly reasonable for you to expect your partner, or your significant other, to put that sort of effort in, because you're worth it, or you need to be worth it, and if you're going to be in a relationship with that person. So there's that. There's also a slightly different association with this card. It could mean that you're sort of like fearing getting in touch with that feminine aspect of you. Um, Perhaps it served you very well in the past to be very masculine in a way, and if you're a woman, that would mean you've been kind of like tomboyish and you're one of the guys, that kind of thing. If you're a man, obviously there's like some overcompensation or something going on, and it's just like you're trying to be a little too tough and manly or something like that. And so this suggests that if you let in some of that feminine energy a little bit, it'll add to a tremendous amount of growth in your life. You will not feel so stagnant, and there's probably going to be a little bit of pride associated with the way that you're living right now. So, all I can say is if the struggle gets a little rough, if you start to feel unhappy or like something's really wrong, one of the first places I would look is that pride, is to say, well, am I really just keeping myself in a situation that I don't have to be in because I want it to be a certain way. I have a certain specific vision for how things ought to be. Because if you can sort of wiggle on some of those visions that you have, you open the door for a lot more possibilities and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not trying to chastise you or say that you're too masculine or anything like that. I'm just saying, if this is a resonating fear with you, or if you really just don't like the icky female stuff, perhaps that's something that you should meditate on as well. You should think about why that is. What is it about femininity that you find off-putting, or whatever, however you feel about it. Your overall message for the reading today is the Nine of Coins. And the Nine of Coins is about abundance and material fulfillment, that kind of thing. So it leads me to suggest that really your fears of the situation are, I don't want to say totally unnecessary, because that's dangerous, right? I don't want to tell people to put their heads in the sand and just ignore their fears. But I feel like the situation is better than you think it is. And this card is telling you to keep stock of all the great things that you have. This character is kind of flying over this garden, just surveying all the great, pretty flowers and her kingdom, or whatever, whatever it is. But it also says to sort of take care of yourself, to take time to make yourself feel better about how you look, your material possessions and things like that. Maybe do a little bit of shopping or something like that, and keep it reasonable. I see that you're feeling impoverished, but you probably have more money than you think you do. So maybe take a day off, a mental health day or something like that, and go to the mall, buy yourself something nice, and spend the day reflecting and thinking about what you really want and all those types of things. And I think it'll help you out quite a bit. I don't think it requires any drastic adjustments or anything like this. I think this is really just about integrating things, lessons that you really already know. You know what I mean? So anyway, great reading. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section, please. Always love the comments. And I will see you guys next month, and I hope you're all doing well.